All right, so this is the review for the test on point slope form and line of best fit. We're going to begin with the very first problem. So it says a line passes through the point for -1, and the slope of the line is 3/4. It says, what is the equation of the line in point slope form? So remember, point slope form is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So there is the formula. So the point is your x1 and your y1 value, and the slope is your m value. So we're going to plug in -1 for y1. So y minus a -1 is really the same thing as y plus 1. And then 3/4 is our m value, so we're going to plug that in. And then 4 is our x1 value, so x minus 4. Now, just to point out again, when you look at the x1, y1, when you plug it into the equation, the signs change. So while y1 was -1, we have a y plus 1 in the equation. While x1 was +4, we have an x minus 4 in the equation. All right, part B, what is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form? So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to solve for y. Because remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So to solve for y, the first thing you have to do is distribute the 3/4. So 3/4 times x is 3/4 x. 3/4 times -4. Remember, you do have a calculator with a fraction button on it. So 3/4 times -4 is -3. Get rid of the plus 1 by subtracting 1. And so we have y equals 3/4 x, and then -3 minus 1 is -4. So there is the equation in slope-intercept form. All right, let's looking at number 2 now. It says, what is the equation of the graph below using slope-intercept form? So remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. The problem is we can't just look at that graph and come up with slope-intercept form because this point right here where the line crosses the y-axis is not a whole number. It is between 3 and 4. So unfortunately, we are going to have to not start with slope-intercept form, but rather we're going to have to start with point slope form, and then we will turn it in to slope-intercept form. So when this happens, we're going to need some perfect points. Here's a perfect point. There's another one, and another one, and another one. So let's start with the slope of the line. We're going to go down 2, right 3. Keep doing down 2, right 3 each and every time. So down 2, right 3. That means the slope is -2/3. Okay, then we're going to pick a point. It really doesn't matter which point you pick. I'm going to pick this one right here, close to the y-intercept, or excuse me, close to the y-axis. And so I'll say my point is -1, +4. So my x1 would be -1, my y1 would be +4. By the way, you could have picked any of those perfect points for your x1, y1, and in the end, your answer would be the same. So I'm going to do what I just listed. Y1 is 4, so y minus 4. The slope is -2/3. And then x1 is -1, so that would become x plus 1. Because remember, when we plug that point into the point slope form, we switch the signs. The +4 became a y minus 4. The -1 became a plus x plus 1. So now to turn this into slope-intercept form, we distribute. So I'm bringing down the y minus 4. -2/3 times x, and then -2/3 times 1 is just -2/3. So now we need to add 4 to both sides. All right, so we get -2/3 x. We're bringing that down. And now you're going to need your calculator. You're going to need to know what is -2/3 plus 4. If you type in a calculator with the fraction key, -2/3 plus 4, the calculator is going to give you 3 1/3. And that is a perfectly acceptable answer. But I will tell you on a multiple choice test like the semester exam or maybe even an EOC style question, they're not going to write this number right here as a mixed number. They're going to write it as an improper fraction. So to change the number from a mixed number to an improper fraction, you have that number 3 1/3 in your calculator already. You're going to do shift fraction key or green key fraction key, and it will turn it into 10 thirds. So y equals -2/3 x plus 10 thirds is the answer. All right, let's take a look at now number 3. It says, what is the slope and the point? And there's a typo here. We had repeated this for some reason. What is the slope and the point that were used to write the equation y plus 3 equals -5/2 times y minus 7? So remember, this is y minus y1 equals your m and then x minus x1. So your x1, it says x minus 7, so we're going to switch the sign to +7. Your y1, y plus 3, so that's going to become a -3. And then we don't change the sign of the slope, we just leave it exactly how we see it. So -5/2 is the slope. All right, let's look at number 4. What is the y-intercept of a graph with equation y plus 5 equals -5/2 times x minus 4? So y-intercept, there's a couple of ways we can do this. One way you can do it is let x equal 0 and solve for y. Another way you can do it is just solve directly for y and find out what your b value is. There are multiple ways. So I'm going to go ahead and just distribute first. We're going to use that method. Then I'll go back and show you the other method. So -5/2 times x is -5/2 x. Again, you're going to want to use your fraction key on your calculator here. -5/2 times -4 is +10. All right, and then we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. So we get y equals -5/2 x plus 5. So this number right here is going to be the y-intercept, 0, 5. Now, the other thing I had said is you could go back to the original equation in a y-intercept, let x equal 0. So y plus 5 equals -5/2 times 0 minus 4. So again, this is just a different way of solving the same problem. All right, so leave the y plus 5 alone for a minute. 0 minus 4 is -4. And then you use your calculator. -5/2 times -4 is +10. And then subtract 5, and you get y equals 5. So you get the same answer either way. So our answer is we have to write it as an ordered pair, 0, 5. We plugged in 0 for x and got 5 for y. Let's look at number 5. It says, what is the slope of a line that passes through the points -3, 8 and -3, -7? Okay, to find the slope when given 2 points, we use this rule. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the first point we label x1, y1. The second point we label x2, y2. All right, y2 minus y1, -7 minus 8. x2 minus x1, -3 minus -3. Okay, now we're going to work this out. -7 minus 8 is -15. When we see minus and a negative, we make it plus positive. That's 0 on the bottom. When 0 is under the line, the slope is undefined. That's how we remember it. It rhymes. When 0 is under the line, the answer is undefined. All right, let's look at number 6. It says, what is the slope of the line that passes through? -2, -6, and 4, -6. Same way of doing the problem. Label your first point, x1, y1, your second point, x2, y2. Use the formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, y2 minus y1, -6 minus -6. x2 minus x1, 4 minus a -2. Okay, remember when you have minus a negative, that's plus positive. So -6 plus 6 is 0. Same thing on the bottom, plus positive. 4 plus 2 is 6. When 0 is on the top, 0 divided by 6 is 0. So the slope of that line is 0. Okay, number 7, a line passes through the points -2, 1, and 2, 3. What is the slope of the line? So same thing as we did in the last two problems. Label your points x1, y1, x2, y2, and use the formula. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 minus y1, that's 3 minus 1. x2 minus x1, 2 minus a -2. 3 minus 1 is 2. The minus negative becomes plus positive. 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay, we can simplify this by dividing the top number and the bottom number by 2. So this is a slope of 1/2. What is the equation of the line and point slope form? So remember that is the rule y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So here's your x1 and your y1. Here is your m. We're going to plug them in. y1 is 1, so y minus 1. M is 1/2. And then x1 is -2, so it will become x plus 2. Remember again, when you plug in the x1 and y1, you switch the signs. Okay, last part, C, you're going to solve for y to get it into slope-intercept form. So you will distribute. So we have y minus 1 equals 1/2 x plus 1, because 1/2 times 2 is 1. Add 1 to both sides. And so we get y equals 1/2 x plus 2. So there's the answer. All right, let's look at number 8. We have a real world problem here. It says the amount it costs to take a taxi is a linear relationship with the number of miles driven. The cost to take a taxi 3 miles is $13. The cost to take a taxi 7 miles is $25. Part A, write two ordered pairs to represent the data in this problem. So 3 miles costs $13. 7 miles cost $25. So when we're writing our ordered pairs, we put the miles first and the dollars second. All right, so now we're going to continue. It says, what is the cost per mile for the taxi? Remember to include units. So you have to recognize when they're saying cost per mile, since it's miles and dollars per mile, that's the rate of change or slope. So we're using this formula to come up with the rate of change or the cost per mile. So this is your x1, y1. This is your x2, y2. So y2 minus y1, x2 minus x1. 12 over 4 is 3. But it did say remember to include units. So when you have your answer, you're going to do 3 and then something per something. The first thing is the y value, and then after the word per comes the x. So it's mean the cost per mile is $3 per mile to ride the taxi. All right, part C, it says write an equation to relate the cost in dollars, C, in terms of the number of miles, M, using express the answer in terms of in point slope form. So in this problem, we have M is our miles and C is our cost in dollars. That's how we're writing it. So this is your X1, Y1, and here is your M right here. This number right here. So instead of doing Y to Y minus Y1, we're going to do C because C is your Y variable. C minus your Y1, 13, equals M, that's your slope, 3, and then your inside the parentheses is m minus 3. So we plugged in your x1 to get the m minus 3, your y1 to get the c minus 13, and then 3 in front of the parentheses is your slope. That's in point slope form. Now we're going to rewrite the equation into slope-intercept form by first distributing. So c minus 13 equals 3m minus 9. Then we add 13 to both sides. So we get 3m plus 4. C equals 3m plus 4. Part E, what is the cost to take a taxi 10 miles? So this clearly is an m value. So we're going to go into our equation and number and part D, and we're going to let m equal 10 miles. So 3 times 10 plus 4. 30 plus 4. It's going to cost $34 to go 10 miles in the taxi. Okay, part F. How many miles could you take a taxi if you have $40? So we're going back to part D and we're going to plug in 40 for C now because they're telling you the cost. This is a cost right here. And then we're going to solve for M. All right, so we're going to get rid of the plus 4 by subtracting 4. 40 minus 4 is 36. And we're going to divide both sides by 3. 12 divided by, or 36 divided by 3 is 12. So 12 miles is your answer. So if you have $40, you can go 12 miles. All right, let's continue on with the next part. Number 9, which of the following equations has a graph that is parallel to the graph of y equals 2x plus 7? Okay, the word parallel tells me that we have same slopes but different y-intercepts. All right, the slope of this line is 2, and there is only one other line that in this answer choice that has 2. So D is the correct answer. Okay, number 10. Which of the following equations has a graph that is perpendicular to the graph of y equals negative 3x minus 2? Remember, perpendicular lines have opposite and reciprocal slopes. So the slope of this line is negative 3 or negative 3 over 1. We are going to change the sign and flip the fraction. So we are looking for a line with slope 1/3, and that would be answer choice C. Okay, number 11. A line passes through the point 0, 7 and is parallel to with the equation 2x minus 3 equals negative 15. What is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form? So I've got to take this 2x minus 3y equals negative 15, and I've got to find the slope by solving for y. So we're going to subtract 2x. Negative 3y equals negative 2x minus 15. Divide everything by negative 3. Okay, so we get a negative 2 over a negative 3. Negative over negative is positive. 2 over 3 does not simplify. Negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. So the slope of the given line is 2/3. Since the line we're looking for is parallel, that means they have the same slope. And here is our b value, y equals mx plus b, is what we're going to use here. We're going to plug in 2/3 for your parallel slope and 7 for your new y-intercept. That's the correct answer. Y equals 2/3 x plus 7. All right, number 12. A line passes through the point 0, negative 3 and is perpendicular to the line with the equation 2x plus 5y equals 20. What is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form? Once again, I need to know what the slope of that given line is, and it's not in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to get it there to find the slope. Subtract 2x. So 5y equals negative 2x plus 20. Divide by 5. Negative 2 over 5 does not reduce. 20 over 5 is 4. All right, now we're not done with this one for sure because that's the slope of the given line, but we're looking for a perpendicular line. So I've got to take the negative 2/5 and I have to change the sign and flip the fraction. So we also have our b value in y equals mx plus b. So we're going to use y equals mx plus b. We're going to plug in 5 over 2 for the new perpendicular slope. And then the y-intercept is negative 3. So this is our answer right here. All right, the very last thing on this review, we have to determine the type of correlation. So I'm looking at all of these problems and I'm seeing there's only two graphs where the dots are fairly close to each other. Those are the strong ones. D, they're close to each other and going up, so that is a strong positive. That is answer choice one. Whereas C is also very close to one another, but they're going down. So that is a strong negative. So C is answer choice two. All right. Now, there are some weak ones that are going up and down. A, we have weak and going up. So that would be a weak positive. Whereas E is going down but is weak. So that would be a weak negative. And then finally, B, those points, we can't tell if they're going up or if they're going down. The points are all over the place. So there is no correlation here. B is 5. All right, so that concludes all of the problems on the review. Make sure you pay attention to what you got wrong and go back and look at those things that you got wrong. Make sure you are reminding yourself of what to remember so that you don't get them wrong on the test.